So we're gonna get into our conversation, but first, I am excited to introduce you to my friend, Zanele. If you do not know Zanele, you do need to know her. If you know anything about Zanele, she has a big heart. She is kind. She is genuine. She creates spaces for us to be authentic. She's an activist, a philanthropist. She's done some amazing things in the community, a true woman of impact. And when we were thinking about this, there wasn't anyone better to have this conversation for us. So I'm so honored that you're here to speak with Amanda and to do this HerStory Fireside chat. So if you all would help me welcome my friend and sister, Zanele Mutepfa-Rhone.
Can we give a round of applause to Karen and Amanda? How amazing is this? It's funny how, every time I'm around Karen, she's always like, you have such a big heart. I was like, girl, have you met you? You are the epitome of light, the epitome of love, the epitome of joy, and I am so honored to call you friend and sister. So thank you for thinking of me for tonight. I'm super excited to be here. As Karen said, I'm Zanele Mutepfa-Rhone. I am a culture and diversity strategist, a lover of people, and I'm obsessed with women, honey. There's a power about us, and especially when we have the audacity to defy the odds and come together and do things that have never been done before. Things like what Amanda has built. So I'm super excited to moderate the conversation today. But y'all are my co-hosts, okay? So we're gonna have moments where we can ask questions, and I'm going to be picking out folks from the crowd. It really is important for us to not only use our voices to ask questions, but to also share our love, our desire to invest in our communities, and share ideas on how we can continue to grow together. Does that sound good? All right, so without further ado, honey, please help me welcome the creator, the founder, the woman of the hour, Amanda Mailey, y'all. I was gonna say, don't sound nervous now, honey. You sounded real confident on that video. All right, is it on? Let's see.
Thank you. Already helping me.
Of course. Well, I'm really excited to be in conversation with you. I'll never forget when I first met Amanda. I sat with her and I thought to myself, oh my gosh, how many more people can we get in our community like this that can actually make a difference, right? That say the things that they mean and mean what they say, but then they actually go out there and do. And so for all the years that you've been working on this, I want you to take a look around the room.
You're gonna make me cry already. I'm trying. Let's not cry now.
I want you to take a look, honey, and I want you to think about that first moment where you decided that this was what you were going to do, that you were going to put one foot in front of the other and create atmospheres, make commitments that grow women's businesses, but most importantly, bring the community together. How has that dream come true for you?
Wow. Looking at everybody here, that is that dream. So thank you so much for everybody showing up for women entrepreneurs today during Women History Month.
Okay.
Yeah. And with all the wonderful women that have participated in pulling together the first Boss-A-Thon. And to me, that is the dream. The dream that I get to be all the things that I am and to bring that out of other people.
Yeah.
That then brings something this beautiful to the world. I mean, who wouldn't want to do that every single day?
Yeah.
And I have a long history in advertising and marketing. I have worked in a lot of different settings throughout my career. And the dream to what you were asking is around understanding my purpose in the world, not just as a career or a job or even as a business owner, but as an integral part of my community. And first, who is my community? And I traveled 80% of the time in my advertising life world. I didn't have a community. I was bouncing from here to here. I lived in Portland my whole life, but I didn't really know too many people other than my family and a few friends. And so the dream of following an instinct of I want to find people that, one, look like me, but two, really align with what I want to do in this world. That's a true gift. Yeah. And then you combine what I do with my family. I have a family of 4, and my husband and my 2 kids. And my husband, Sean, is in the audience today. He's over there.
Come on, Sean.
Really working with my children to understand what and how this is so important, especially to my daughter and it's actually, I should say, especially to my son, because we do it together. They call it a scavenger hunt. We were trying to find as many women-owned businesses as we could possibly support, and between my business, which is just, I'm a solopreneur. I am the only person who owns and works at ALIST, plus my family of 4. In 3 years, we have distributed $145,000 in the women-owned business community.
Wow, that's awesome. That's amazing. When we first met, I was trying to get an understanding of the meetups, trying to get an understanding of your approach to investing in women-owned businesses. And I will never forget that about 30 minutes in, I was like, dang, she's named like 20 women already. Some that I know and others that I should know, and now know because of you. But I want to know because you not only named these women because you hired them, you also named them because you invested in their business, you brought them into experiences like this, made sure that they were a part of the process, and then you consistently asked them, how can I support you? And if I can't do it, I know someone who can, who also happens to be a woman. And so with all the women, and it's hundreds of them that you have hired, collaborated with, brought into your community, what brought you to that moment to actually say, this is what I want to do, and this is how I'm going to do it?
I'm still figuring it out, honestly.
Okay, thank you.
I am, and every year, for us, I know there are women business owners in here. I know there are business owners in here. How many times do you redo your website, right? Okay. Like your messaging. What am I doing? How am I doing this? Mm-hmm. It changes. Yeah. And the more people, clients that came into my life, collaborators, partners, strategic partners, it changed. And it will continue to change because that's the amplifier effect. I didn't want to work alone. Yeah. We can't do this alone. Mm-hmm. And every time I invite and I stay open and listen and bring other people into my life, I learn something else, or I meet someone else, or we have a moment that changes everything. Yeah. And it just keeps happening. Yeah. And it's a cycle in an ecosystem that I'm addicted to. Yeah. I love it, and I didn't think I could find it. And finding it and then also leading it, that's a lot. Yeah. That's a lot. And honestly, when I first started this, I did not think I would be sitting right here today talking to all of you about the power of just being one person and the fact that we all have a position of power in your household, in your business, in your company, organization, that if we take a moment, it can really make an impact when you're intentional about those gestures. Yeah. And so when I work with women, honestly, they're great people to work with. I don't know if you've worked with women, but we get stuff done. Yeah. And it only takes sometimes 2 or 3 women, and look, we can pull off a whole thing and go, yeah, we did that. Yeah. And so it's not just it's not just working with women, but it's as a marketer and seeing the erasure of that happens with the people behind the scenes. Yeah. And I'm a ghostwriter. I've been a behind the scenes person. Mm-hmm. This is very uncomfortable for me.
But you're doing great.
But I've been pumping people up for my whole career. Yeah. I know what that feels like. And all of us women don't want to be out there spotlighting ourselves that I meet. Yeah. So I do it for them. Yeah. And that one gesture alone is what changed everything. Because I was uncomfortable being in the spotlight. I used that power to do it for others, and what do you know? Yeah. It helped so many others that felt that same way. Yeah.
Can we get vulnerable for a minute?
We're not there yet? Okay, I'm going to sit back now.
I heard you say, I'm still trying to figure it out. And as a small business owner and a DEI consultant, we won't go there today. I believe that there isn't a moment in a day that I'm not trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
But I would even say more so for folks that are in our equity industry. But even as human beings, how many of us have seen a shift in ourselves since 2020? Show of hands. Whether it's personal or professional, in our businesses and corporate. Honey child, I don't know. Sometimes I get invited to things. Not this one, though. I'm even like, ooh, I'm not an extrovert, I guess, right? So whether it's personally, for some of us who'd rather be on the couch watching Netflix on a day-to-day, not today, because we're excited to be here, or if we're small business owners and we're seeing that the traction has slowed down in folks that are either investing in us, partnering with us, working with us, and then some folks completely wiping out some of our teams. We've seen a lot of changes in the last 4 years. And so I'm curious if you would be open to share with us what are some of the shifts that you have noticed in Women Support Women since 2020?
Yeah, there are a lot of layers to this question. It's, you don't have to dig far, and especially during Women's History Month, there's articles being posted almost daily about women leaders and specifically women of color leaders who had some momentum. I mean, I mentioned in the video, the fastest growing demographic of entrepreneurs. And they're still growing. But so much to a pace that people aren't investing, or we don't have enough investment. There is less than 1% of venture capital funding going to women of color. And it's dropping. That's the high point, people. That's where we got to our high point in 2021. And I was like, this is momentum. But it was like the previous year was 34 Black women got invested in. Then it was 93. And we're celebrating. Meanwhile, there's, $330 million going to men-led companies. And I think that's $1 billion, actually. A billion. It's $1 billion. Sorry, reframe that. That's $1 billion going, and that's changing, And with people that I have aligned with or have been, we've had we crowdfund money. So just some background, we crowdfund money. Donors have gone down since we started this work, and I'm not faulting anybody for it. It's just a fact. And also the price of living has gone up. Inflation is crazy. It's tax season, people. There's all the things, right, that are competing with, hey, what about all these women starting businesses? It's not just about shop small, shop local, shop BIPOC. I mean, like true investment, because it takes capital. And it also takes people just realizing this is happening. There are 1,800 women starting a business every single day. Every single day. But how many do you purchase from? How many do you know that are in a business and that you actually are customers of? Not your friends and family, but anybody else? They're out there. And the support has just gone down. And I actually, it's a 3-part of my programming to fill an equity space here of giving to these women. It is a combination of a low price point ticket to come in. Then you add crowdfunding dollars. And then you add sponsorships where people align with us and say, we support that. And this is how we are going to show up for you. And sometimes the answer is, ego aside, you're not the answer sometimes. You can't do not everybody in this room can do what you do for me, Zanele. Like, we all have people like that in our lives.
That's right.
And sometimes, just because Zanele can do this for me, I want to make sure she gets compensated for it. The value is so strong. And meanwhile, a lot of programs are being created over here that have nothing to do with Zanele to try to help me. and I just want to work directly with Zanele.
Yeah.
So there's models that just need to be created to make room for all these gaps that are going to just happen, because the trajectory of us women opening business, I don't think is going to stop.
Yeah.
We are in a very historical time, and a lot of women before us laid that groundwork.
Yeah.
And now we're showing up in our form of activism, but it's threatened with, the people that I would align with no longer in their jobs or in their positions of power. But I also want to remember we all have positions of power as consumers and in our household to make choices.
Yeah. I heard you bring up models, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when I think about models for any community organization, investment fund, or, a movement like what you have built, there are a variety of models that people can engage. So I just want to double back to this question and maybe clarify for the folks in the room that might be very brand new to women supporting women. What is your model, and how does your model, how is it set apart from others?
Well, I mentioned I own a company. So it's a marketing and business consultancy for women of color entrepreneurs. I work directly with the women in a business coaching, a marketing sense, or whatever else that they might need. But it's incredibly flexible. There are great purpose for the nonprofits that we have in this city. We actually have some incredible ones. But for women entrepreneurs, they don't know which ones to go to. They don't know when this certain grant is, here or there. And people are like, well, we have the grants. Why don't you come get them? It's that push-pull. And what I'm doing is I'm already with them. So and I'm only one person, but I try my best to fill that gap. I try my best to say, oh, actually, MISO is more applicable to you, or Prosper Portland is more applicable to you, or actually, you might need, a short-term loan, or open a line of credit. There's a lot of different avenues, but people need people to go to talk about it. And I've done my best to research and connect with other specialists in these areas. So I'm not misrepresenting. I'm actually pushing people to these other organizations. But what's unfortunate is I'm not the only one doing this, by the way. There are a lot of women who own their businesses, or people that start their businesses so that they can give back to their communities. That is a model out there. Yeah. And in a lot of historical ways, the model is charitable. Yeah. Right? I volunteer time. I'm on this board. This means a lot to me, so I volunteer here, or I donate money here, and this is my way I show up, right? And sometimes, especially when it comes to equity work, this is not charity. Yeah. This is equity. Yeah. And so the people doing that work deserve compensation. Yeah. But we grapple with these models that, well, you're helping a cause, so that must be charitable, a charitable donation. And so there are barriers in some ways for people like me who want to continue to do this work without any kind of access to grants and funding. Yeah. And then even community organizers, the way grants are written, they're told they have to have them free to the public, right? So where do they make their money? And a lot of the people that are the community organizers are small businesses making $25,000 a year. Yeah. And they're to bear the burden of what drives tourism, engagement with our communities, joy, all the things that we all say we love about the culture of Portland. They're driving it, but they're doing it uncompensated. Yeah. And I'm learning all of this.
We don't do free labor, honey.
Yes. Yeah. And especially with the wage gap, what it is, the wealth gap, what it is, why would we want anybody who could make this kind of impact directly between you and me to go out of business, to fall to debt with health bills, with all these other things that could happen? We should want to covet these people in our community. We should be lifting them up. But tax codes, policies, there's barriers. We got to get creative. We got to find ways around that. And WSW is just one thing out there. But Zanele, you do things too. Like there's so many of us.
But today's about you.
I know. Please look her up because there is a lot that this woman has done way before me.
Thank you. I have this, we're speaking of free labor, I have this mug that a girlfriend sent me for my birthday, and I use it on certain Zoom calls. Yeah, the folks who I've used it on aren't in here. But on the front of it, it says, "You can pick my brain after you've paid my invoice."
Oh, yes.
Look, folks are clapping. I think you should probably send them some. When I'm thinking about earlier, when Fatu said, Karen had asked her, can you think back when you first started your business? Like, what did you need? And she said, money. Mm-hmm. And I felt that in my core. Mm-hmm. And as you're talking about the numbers of, investment funds and then specifically venture capital going towards Black-owned businesses by women or women of color, the numbers are scary.
Yeah.
And including the politics around it right now, and how many, venture capitalist companies that are owned by women of color that are getting sued. Google it, you all will see more. Yes. And at moments like that, I think more about taking it back. And as a Zimbabwean woman, I come from the village, okay? And I come from an environment, a culture, and a community of folks that you build your businesses, you build your homes with the people from your village, with the people from your community. And while things are slowing down out there, Amanda, take a look in the room. That support is right here.
I know, it's incredible. Thank you for being here.
And so, clap it up. Clap it up for yourselves. And so my question for you is for the folks that are in this room, that is your community. When headlines and policies and all these things and corporations are slowing down funding, what can the community, the incredible people that are in this room right now, what can they do? What is the community solution to ensure that women-owned businesses, and especially businesses that are owned by women of color, continue to thrive? What is that solution that they can give?
There are multiple solutions, and those that I hope we talk about and maybe invent today. But I think what happens, at least for me, when I lost my position of power, when I was laid off in my role, and I wanted to be able to do certain things, when we get rocked in a way where we think we have no power, that's very common. Yeah. And what people then get into the mindset of, and I'm guilty of this, is, well, then there's, what could we do? What's the point? Yeah. There's nothing that's going to make any difference. Yeah. And what I've learned is the small things. Yep. And I know that might sound a little cliche, but it's true. I didn't know hundreds of women overnight. It started with, okay, what do I do every week? All right, we do takeout at least twice a week. Working mom and working dad, we're doing takeouts. Okay, can we find somebody who can do we'll go and buy takeout food from them. How about coffee? Yeah. How about drinks? Yeah. How about, every time someone says, hey, Amanda, I'd love to get coffee with you. Or I'd love to get lunch with you. Okay, and also my business card, yes. I can do that. And the next thing you know, it just becomes habitual. Yeah. And there's a lot of people that are like, well, we can't give money. Well, maybe your company leases out phones or computers, or they're looking for a speaker, and better be paid, by the way, but they're looking for a speaker, or they, want to talk with children about entrepreneurship as a path, not just working for somebody, but owning your own business. There are lots of us that are waiting to be picked, to be compensated, and to be invited into your life. And it doesn't have to be big. We all are consumers, and the shirt, the earrings, if you like tea, if you like herbs, there's so many places to choose from. And the marketplaces are great, but there are places with rent. And that's why this past year we did a grant that went to a host. We did $5,000 grants that went to a host,
awesome.
and we crowdfunded the money. So little small gestures of $5, $10, $20, it all added up, right?
Yeah.
So it's not the burden on one person. We all come together. That created a $1,000 grant that then became a catalyst in a situation of picking a woman-owned, newly opened brick and mortar, so we can get foot traffic into that place that is brand new.
Good.
The first 2 years are so important.
Good. Yeah.
You can choose to do that. You see a write-up in one of the articles saying these 5 places open, go there.
Yeah.
Put it on your calendar that I'm going to go there in the next 60 days.
That's good.
They need you.
That's good. So if I'm hearing you correctly, intentionality is key.
Mm-hmm.
Being intentional has the power to make an impact, no matter how small or big that act is. And then finding ways to integrate it into your day-to-day life, into your work. That's one of my favorite things to do always when I'm working with my clients, whether there's a CEO or CMO that's like, I really want to be an ally. Do you, Tom? Because the things you do at work, you got to do at home, okay? And that is part of the advice that we give. It's like you can write a check all day, every day. You can bring in a speaker to your job. But if you're not exposing your children to diverse communities, are you really an ally? Are you really committed to women-owned businesses? Are you really committed to diverse communities? So I love what you're talking about. Intentionality is key. It has the power to make an impact. But how can we ask ourselves, how do we ensure that our day-to-day actions and commitments are a reflection of our commitment to women and women-owned businesses?
Can I build on that?
Yes, of course.
People tend to say, Amanda, this is great what you do. Wow. And what I want to make sure, yes, all of us should be participating in this work. This is our civic duty to participate in this work. But what I have received is far exceeds anything that I've done. Because you're creating relationships with people in your community. We're getting back to before, right? Where we are learning of people's trades or their skills. And we're getting to know them as a person instead of this transactional, like, is it cheap? You know? It's going beyond that and living differently.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Do you have any advice, and we're getting closer to our Q&A here, do you have for any advice for folks that are in the room that want to do something either similar or have it written down in their diary or in their journals that they want to make an impact to community, but they are afraid or they are anxious that maybe they wouldn't get the support that they need in order to bring things like this to life? What advice would you have for them?
Well, there are a lot of people doing similar things. I'm not the only one doing it. I think finding somebody that you align with and just being in their sphere, to be next to you, I'm just kind of still fangirling, but I want to be next to her, so here I am. But
I'm happy to be next to you too, girl.
It is that. It's sometimes, and I'm an ambivert, so it's not easy for me. But if you just kind of go to these spaces that are inviting you in, and just be in that space with those folks, and really find a way for how they're going to show up for you. Don't go in with that mentality. Go in with, how am I showing up for them? What am I doing? The other part is going to come, but that's not why you're doing it. But if you want to have a real relationship with someone, you have to go in with, how can I show up for them? And those answers are going to come. And it might be to do something like this, but it could be something completely different or small. And the thing that I've learned through the WSW, there's now over 400 of us, linking arms with someone else, especially when you're a small business. I have 2 clients that they both were coming to me saying, with HR issues of, I need someone to work the register. I go, I was just talking to a client that said they need someone to work a register too.
Wow.
Okay, well, how about this? How about you hire the same person and they work at both your registers and they get a discount at both of your places. And so now they got this and that, and they're now supporting 2 women-owned businesses and they're sharing a resource. There's lots of things you can do And those ideas will come from, again, being intentional about the relationships that you want to build here in Portland.
Yeah. Listening to you talk about, collaborating, I think back to a conversation that I had with Karen a couple months ago, and she said, "Can I ask you something?" And I was like, "Uh-oh." What could this be? And she said, "Does it bother you when you see other people doing similar things as you? Or maybe they were inspired by you." And I made a joke that might not be appropriate for this room, so I'll skip that part. I said, "Girl, nobody can be me, honey. I got those salts, but they can try if they want to." But then, after my joke, what I said was, there are jobs, there are businesses, there are ideas that people have that it requires a little oomph of competitiveness, right? But when your hard work is dedicated to the community, you're not worried about competition. You're excited about collaboration. Yes. And you're excited about a multitude of avenues, channels, spaces, and environments that are propelling our people forward. And so when you find other folks that are side-eyeing because they're being competitive, or they're holding onto their hands like this because they believe the little gifts that they got are only for them and not for the people, they will remain there. But we as a people, we can only move forward when we look at each other as folks that can actually make a difference because we're wrangling together all of our talents, our skills, our resources, our spaces. We're saying each other's names in rooms that we're not in. Only when we do that can we actually make a difference in our community.
Yeah. Bravo, yes.
And so that's why I say, yes, the work I've done is great, but when I got the opportunity to have coffee with you and learn about the work you're doing, I could not have been more excited to be here and to continue supporting you. So I wanted to say that and just say thank you.
That means a lot to me. Thank you.
I'm going to ask one last question, and then I would love to hear from everyone else. I hope you have some burning questions to ask our woman of the hour. What is your hope for Black, Indigenous, and women-owned, women of color-owned companies and businesses in our city and beyond?
My hope is that people see the beauty, both the women of color community, but also people who are allies or around us, that we are what we need. Mm-hmm. There are enough of us. We have skills beyond. We've been code switching. We've been flipping and hyper multitasking to doing all the things. You put each other together, magic happens every single time. This is truly magic that this is happening tonight. And it's because of, I think we're up to 13 women collaborating on this. This is not just me. Wow. This is not just Zanele.
Let's give her a round of applause for that. All right. Any questions from my co-hosts out there?
Don't be shy. Come on.
Or comments, honey. We can take all the flowers possible for Amanda and Karen today. So even if you have statements, that's good too. Right over here.
Yes. How much funding does ALIST need for this year?
I love that. Yeah, show us the money.
Each of the meetups cost between $5,000 and $7,000 to host. All the money goes to women business owners creating those experiences for other women business owners. Yeah. So the more we raise, the more we can do. Our goal this year is $25,000.
I heard someone say, "That's it? Sis, write the check then. Write the check. We are taking checks, okay?" So we're going to walk out of here with one check for $7K for sure.
Yes, I would love that.
That was a good question. Anyone else?
Yeah. Well, what was your final push to start ALIST and WSW?
Oh, jeez. Well, full honesty, I was laid off 3 times in 5 years. I was the highest performer at my company, all 3 companies actually that I got laid off at. One of them, I was just coming back from maternity leave and I was laid off. so that they didn't have to pay me my $40,000 in commissions.
Wow.
I mean, it was thing after thing after thing. And I said, something's got to stop. Yeah. The universe is telling me this is not the right way.
Right.
So I needed to find another way. And of course, with that being my background and my lived history and experience, I wanted to create a company that would help make an impact with other women who may have struggled or been in those situations that want to come to the entrepreneur side and find, maybe a haven or maybe a lot of heartache, but try it, And so, but it didn't happen right away. Actually, I pitched my first client because at first it was my goal of starting ALIST in 2016 was for BIPOC entrepreneurs to work with BIPOC creative professionals like myself. And so I pitched a local startup, a BIPOC-owned startup, and I did so well, he hired me. Wow. And I thought to myself, well, I just started this company. Why am I going to take this position? And he said, you can have full reign to do whatever you want.
Wow.
You can hire whoever you want. You can try whatever you want. But these are my goals, and you already built the plan, so why not implement it? Yeah. I thought, well, that's like a paid way of testing out this model. That feels like a win-win. Yeah. And I was still working to support a local BIPOC-owned startup. It hit some of those things that I was wanting to do as a business. It wasn't the right thing, but it was the thing at the time. And then WSW didn't come around until 2020. And I kind of shared that story. Yeah. But I wanted to see, and I had a couple of run-ins with people that rubbed me the wrong way again, utilizing me, and then pushing me out. I'm just gonna say it. I'm really good at what I do.
I know that's right.
And I come in and I set up the work. I land the sale, so to speak, and then I'm discarded. Yeah, wow. And that happened, and I was like, I wonder if I only worked with women, and I'm not saying all women are great to work with me, but if I find the right women and then they are working with other women too, just the circle that we could create together. That's what WSW is. It's an ecosystem. I mean, I'm passing the same $20 to everybody. They're like, okay, yeah, here's my invoice. Okay, yeah, now I'm going to invoice you. Okay, we're just passing $500 back and forth together. Okay, that sounds good to me.
Yeah, that's good. I listened to your story and I have found that there is a pattern where for entrepreneurs, women leaders that I have met, and a lot of leaders, regardless of their gender, when they're at the edge of something really great, shit starts to get uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And while I do not wish being laid off or losing your job or, money being taken out of your pocket and therefore being taken out of your home, I would never celebrate that. But I am going to celebrate that you are at the cusp of something great, and we all get to benefit from that. So thank you so much, Amanda.
Thank you so much.
All right. Well, that does it for our fireside chat. I hope y'all are enjoying the food. We will come back in a few minutes and hear from our incredible panel. Thank you so much, Amanda.
Thank you.
Can we give her another round of applause?
Thank you, everybody.